Hello, in this video you will learn how to create a task schedule. As part of the online team module, we'd like you to create a task schedule for a real course prompt and then upload it to the module. We provided you with a link where you can access a template that will help you construct your task schedule. Once you're done, go ahead and upload it to the link and then also bring a draft to class so you can discuss it and deliberate it with your peers. In this video, we'll teach you two strategies to help you construct a task schedule. The first is deciding on deliverables and project chunks by looking at the course prompt and also a sample if you have one. And then the second one is scheduling review and meeting points throughout your task schedule. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is you'll want to decide on the deliverables and project chunks. Let's think back to what Rajit and his team did in scenario number 2. You'll remember that at the beginning of their project, they met to look at the prompt and discuss any samples, and they deliberated about what were the major things that they needed to include. When they looked at the prompt for their course, they found that they needed to include a solution aspect, discuss the engineering problem, and then also incorporate an introduction and conclusion. All of this was due by September 10th for the project. Now let's take a look at the task schedule that Rajit and his team constructed for their project. You'll find that the task schedule is broken up into these chunks according to those deliverables. So for example, they have a problem section chunk. They have an intro chunk, a solution chunk, and they also have a conclusion chunk. Now, all of these chunks are also broken up into smaller components. You can do this by looking either at the prompt and trying to see what are some of the smaller tasks that need to be accomplished. You could also do this by trying to figure out with your team what are the best ways that you can go about trying to figure out what the tasks are and trying to achieve that deliverable. For example, let's take a look at the prompt that the students had in Rajit's team. When they looked at the prompt, they found that they needed to describe the issue, conduct rigorous research, and then write up a report, all as part of the engineering problem component. Their task schedule reflects just that. They have a section for the background research task as well as the drafting of the problem solution. Now, the next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to schedule review and meeting points. Review points are critical for allowing team members to comment on each other's work and offer suggestions for how to improve. We see this happening in Rajit and his team's task schedule, where they have frequent moments of review and then revision. For all of the different components and all the different deliverables, the students made sure that they had multiple rounds of review and revision. You could also see how this was done through this column right here called the task quality assurance. And what the students did is that after every single time that a draft was reviewed and then revised, the draft was upgraded to a higher status. So it went from stone to bronze to silver and then finally to gold as the final product. You want to do something like this in your own task schedule to make sure that you are tracking not only feedback, but also revision according to that feedback. The next thing you'll want to do is you'll want to make sure that you are scheduling meeting points. Meetings are essential for allowing students to engage with one another and deliberate big picture ideas. Meetings are great for sharing and deliberating perspectives on a project, for addressing and resolving any sort of obstacles that may occur, and then also for planning for upcoming parts of a project. You really want to be strategic about meetings, when it is that you are scheduling them, and also what it is that you are talking about during them. So for example, the students had a meeting at the very beginning to really map out the rest of the project, and this is really important. Then the students also made sure to have a meeting before a deliverable for the final project problem statement draft, and they did so that they can talk about the remaining feedback and also come up with a plan and a deadline for the revision. You'll also notice that the students scheduled this meeting before they started the next major part of the project, which is the user testing and solution draft. And what the students did is that they asked the team members to all come prepared with some preliminary ideas for user testing. In doing so, they were able to have the meeting to deliberate these big picture ideas and really plan for this next part of the project. This way, when Michael and Lauren started user testing, they had a really concrete idea as to what it is that they were going to do and to make sure that they were on the same page not only together but also with the entire team. So once again, to emphasize, when should you be scheduling review points in meetings? You'll want to have review points in meetings at the beginning and at the end of the project, before any sort of major internal deadlines for deliverables, and then also before you start any major parts of a project. Remember, you want to be strategic. Be careful about having meetings all the time. Meetings should be scheduled around big parts, big picture ideas. They should be used strategically. Avoid having meetings just for the sake of having meetings. So to recap, when constructing a task schedule, make sure that you decide on the deliverables and project chunks, as well as the smaller tasks that need to be included for those deliverables, and then also schedule review points and meeting points throughout your project.